I was reading an article this morning about the stock market priced in gold and how the market is high, but nowhere near record highs in gold terms as opposed to dollar terms. It got me thinking about what it is that we measure and what we measure it with. I've been on this theme lately of the areas of your life and making sure that the chain that makes up your life has strong links, and having goals and proceeding towards them with baby steps. It's worth thinking about how you measure those things. Wealth is usually fairly easy, it's numerical, and you can measure it in dollars, you can measure it in gold if you want, you can measure it in Bitcoin, you can measure it in time, in terms of how much time does my current financial picture buy me. In other words, if I stopped working, how long could I continue the same standard of living, or a reduced standard of living maybe. So that part's fairly easy. The health, the relationships, those are definitely more difficult. How do you measure those? How do you determine if you're proceeding in the right direction? For health, there's still numerical things you can look at. You can look at your weight, you can look at your blood pressure, you can look at your cholesterol. Some of the measures I look at are blood glucose, ketone levels. I look at oxygen saturation in my blood, and those kind of things can be measured, and they're fairly objective. There are debates as to which numbers matter and which numbers don't, but by and large, you have something to track. If you want to go all the way out to the extreme, then you have the guys like Brian Johnson, I think that's his name. He's the guy who is doing this $2 million a year of body treatment. That's probably more extreme than most people are going to go, but you can look at that, and you can measure what kind of foods you're eating. You can measure them in terms of their source. Are they organic, or do they have high quality production practices? And that's all great. The relationships, though, that's tough to measure. Relationships are obviously very subjective, but there are things that you can measure them with. If you're a parent, you could measure how willing is your child to come and speak to you about things. How much time do you spend with people? How many conversations do you have? So those are all measurable, but that doesn't really get to the heart of it. The subjective nature is really how you feel about things. Maybe we should take an inventory of the people in our lives, the people we want in our lives, the people we don't want in our lives, and figuring out how to increase the positives and decrease the negatives. So I guess my theme for today is, what are you measuring with?